and yeah, I've seen the reviews of other critics and stuff, and you know what? Here's the thing. Shut the hell up. That's what I gotta say. Like, the criticism of this film is pointed in a wrong direction. There's a lot of slander on Jim Caviezel, on his beliefs or who he is as a person, and kind of slamming his acting. I thought his acting was terrific in this film. What's going on, everyone? Jim Alexander here with Real Talker, and today I am discussing a very talked about film, an important film. It is called Sound of Freedom. So here's a quick look at it.
God's children are not for sale.
How long you been doing this?
12 years now.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? ¿Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana?
Te lo prometo.
All right, Sound of Freedom. A lot of that's being talked about. It is it's kicking ass at the box office. So what is this movie? It's a independent film from Angel Studios, and it stars Jim Caviezel, known for Person of Interest and, of course, The Passion of the Christ. The film is based on a true story of a man called Tim Ballard, who was Homeland Security slash lifesaver, really. A guy that former agent that turned a vigilante, really, to save children from sex trafficking. And it's quite the story. There's a lot about this film that's being talked about. Apparently it took a long time for it to be distributed. It was made over 5 years ago, but we're just seeing it now in 2023, and it had a lot of obstacles and hurdles to get through. So it's finally out here, and I urge everyone to see it. I know my hair looks like it's in another dimension, but try not to let it distract you. I figured the background was kind of necessary for this film. And let's delve into it. So that's the story here. It's Tim Ballard is a Homeland Security guy. He's in charge of catching predators and pedophiles and all the worst kind of people out there, especially ones that are involved in child trafficking. And he stumbles on a case of a brother and sister who we are introduced to early in a movie, who are abducted, young kids, from a casting call for a modeling thing out in Honduras. And Jim's character, Tim, is just kind of on a trek, in a sense, worldwide, but definitely Central and South America are big prime spots where we see him deal with these cases. So you see him rescue the boy early on. It's not a spoiler. It happens pretty quick. The young kid who's played by Lucas Avila, and he plays the character Miguel. And the rest of the movie is the search for his sister, who's Rocio. Rocio. We're going to call Rocio, Rocio. And she's played by really well, I'd say, by this young girl, Cristal Aparicio, who does a great job. And most of the movie, yeah, it's him going through all sorts of hurdles, obstacles to really find this girl to the ends of the world, in a sense, and in this case being Colombia, the jungles of Colombia that nobody wants to be part of or at. And he's joined on this mission alongside another fellow predator hunter that's played by Bill Camp, and his character is called Vampiro. Really interesting kind of character there. But yeah, that's the film. So it really illustrates the child trafficking and people like Tim, real life superheroes that fight the good fight and rescue a lot of these children. Now, the reaction of the film, it's definitely an intense movie. It definitely keeps you on edge, scene to scene. There's tons of moments of tension and just intense moments. You might want to walk out for a breather just because it's so emotionally heavy. Um, the topic, the subject matter here, we're talking about young kids, and this is real stuff that happens sadly in the world that they're taken away from their families. They're stolen off the streets or lured into these fake things, fake casting calls, a lot of them, and are transported to the other sides of the world to really sick and ruthless individuals. So that is a tough thing to watch. So the theater was packed, and it was interesting to see because I was there on a Saturday night, and you had families coming in together. You had young children. You had 4, 5, 6 family members together. It was interesting to see the way this movie's spreading. It's really a word of mouth push, and people want to see this, and they should, because I feel it's important to see, even though it's difficult to watch in a lot of times. But it's compelling. It does suffer from sometimes lagging. The film is 2 hours and 11 minutes. It's a little bit long. It could have been shortened to about 20 minutes, an hour 50, I think would have been a good time frame for this film. But it does lag a little bit at times, and it kind of gets, in a sense, just I wouldn't say boring because it always keeps you on edge, and it's so tension packed, but it gets redundant at times. Some of these conversations and some of these one-on-ones could have been shortened up or even removed, a few of them. I'd say that's one maybe drawback of the film in that aspect, but it's well shot. It feels authentic and raw, and you can see things happening on these locations. I believe it was filmed in the locales or places that we see, which is Mexico, which is Honduras, which is Colombia. Definitely filmed somewhere out there. I'm curious to delve into that and see the exact filming locations, but it feels authentic. You know, the jungles feel authentic. It doesn't feel like any sort of movie set at all. It just feels like they were there on the spot. So that's the impression. The impression is really this story, the story of Tim, and it's not really about Tim when you boil down to it. It's about these kids. In particular, here there's 2 that are focused. I understand it's a movie, so you need to kind of focus a story plot. So in this case, it's 2, and sometimes it's a little bit far-fetched, certain things. You do want to have a focus that one child's life is not bigger than the others. You know, they're all important. So sometimes I feel like this character is so focused on saving this girl that when he saves other kids, it's not as important to him. And you don't want to get that impression as a viewer, because they're all lives matter. And they asked the character of Tim in the film, why do you do this? That's the question. Why do you go through all this? He's got a family, he's got kids of his own. Why do you put your life literally on the line to do this? And his answer that he could come up with was, God's children are not for sale, which is a powerful line, and really packs a punch, no pun intended, to it. But yeah, that's the crux of it. So here, that's, I guess, my minus points for it is just that the gravity of it, it should matter everyone more so than these 2 kids that are kind of the focus of the film. But overall, and yeah, I've seen the reviews of other critics and stuff, and you know what? Here's the thing: shut the hell up. That's what I gotta say. Like, the criticism of this film is pointed in a wrong direction. There's a lot of slander on Jim Caviezel, on his beliefs or who he is as a person, and kind of slamming his acting. I thought his acting was terrific in this film. How he's kind of expressionless, but maybe the guy that he's playing a real person. Maybe that guy is sort of, you know, isn't the most expressive individual, you know. So to knock Jim for not being facially expressive or having one tone, not showing emotion, all that, I thought it was just BS by critics reviewing that, or saying, oh, the procedurals were just so unrealistic. It's not about procedurals. This is about the story of at a front and center here. It's this sex trafficking. It's a child trafficking in general. If it doesn't go along with all the procedurals and keep it honestly to that, boo-foo, you know, that's not what this film was made for. So, and people are sometimes kind of quick to knock the director of the film, Alejandro Monteverde, about, you know, sort of having a film against anti-abortion previously, and, you know, this is sort of a right-wing film. This is not a right or left-wing matter. This is a matter of lives. This is children's lives. I think that trumps any, no pun intended, any politics. And that's the center focus. I think people who are reviewing this or sometimes seeing it, trying to knock this film, are really coming from a wrong place, and trying to delve into things that don't matter, that have nothing to do with this film and story is supposed to be. So I give credit to these filmmakers for pushing for this film to be made and putting it out there. I think it's, you know, we see a lot of these superhero movies, franchises, you know, sequels, prequels, remakes, all these things that have been said and done, but movies like this are important. These are movies that not only make you feel, think, it makes you research, it makes you really try to help out this cause and spread the word on it. It's a mission statement, this film, and not just a you know, an entertainment value sort of thing. So it's an important movie, and people are speaking. And I've noticed that, you know, now everyone's kind of wondering why movies like Indiana Jones and Flash are bombing at the box office. These big tentpole films, you know, who are supposed to take over summer, and this movie is right up there at the top of the box office charts. It's because I think people have spoken, and people want to see what matters to them. I've gotten a great reaction from a film called Nefarious, which did really well in theaters too, and you know, was a small kind of indie release, and it was, you know, sort of movie about good and evil, about God and you know, faith and the devil, and people are drawn to these stories and want to hear more of them. And if you are doubting that or want to speak against and look at the numbers, the box office and the people and the talk says it all. And this is one of these films, and this is an important film. So I'll say that no matter what my critiques or reviews are, it's an important film that you should see, even though it's difficult to watch because it's such a heavy subject matter here. Acting wise, I thought Jim Caviezel did a great job. This is a fantastic actor that just gets a lot of crap for I don't know what reason. I mean, he takes on tough roles, you know, controversial roles. He played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ. Now he plays Tim in this movie, and I think it's one of his best performances ever. It's a dedicated performance, is a inspired performance, even if it's not seen on screen for his reactions. I feel like he was invested in this role to do it. And that's speaking of Jim. So I thought it was a great casting. And, you know, they were apparently, I read that they were skeptical about casting Jim in this role for him being some sort of lightning rod for criticism. But Tim Ballard, the man himself, requested Jim and insisted he play him. And I thought it was a great call because it worked. Jim did this movie justice. Like I said, shout out also to Bill Camp, who plays Vampiro, the kind of wild and crazy sidekick, you know, the boozing, drinking, partying child protector, you know. You would have never imagined by the look of him and how he's presented in this film, that his character Vampiro and how he acts, that he would be so passionate about you know, saving children's lives, but he is. You'd think he'd be the villain, you know, but he's not. So I like that contrast between Jim's character, Jim's you know, Tim is very stoic and serious and doesn't often crack a smile. He does tear up a lot, especially in emotional situations. And there's plenty of emotional parts in this movie. So fabricating or making special emotional, instances or scenes is unnecessary because the story sells itself on the emotional part. Um, Also credit to the kids. They don't say much, if at all, but they're tremendous in the way they convey it through their face. And that is once again Lucas Avila playing Miguel and Cristal Aparicio playing Rocio. Really good job by these kids. Also, shout out to Javier Godino, who plays Jorge, who's kind of the aide on the on the Colombian side, who Jim's character comes into contact with, sort of sets everything up and tells him the lay of the land. So those are kind of important parts. A lot of the pedophile parts and the bad guys are played really well by these actors. Made me kind of believe that they were, creepy and all that, and felt creepy and sick and perverted and all that. So good job by those actors portraying those evil villains in that way. And I just thought Rod Barr, the writer, and Alejandro Monteverde were bold. It's a bold film, and they went for it. And by the way, if you didn't know, there's a little scene. Remember Allie Landry, the Doritos girl, for those of you from the early 2000s? Yes, she is the wife of Alejandro Monteverde. So she does have a little scene here, cameo. She plays a nurse. So that's kind of cool for those of you who are fans of Allie Landry. She does appear in a film. So overall, important movie. You should absolutely see it. The hype is justified, and there's a reason these people are coming out in droves to see this movie, because word of mouth is important and it is powerful, as you can see through this movie. The way it's been spreading, the word of mouth is the way this movie. It hasn't been publicized. It doesn't have big budget. It's from a smaller studio. It's a passion project for these people, and the word of mouth is really getting this film out there, and for right reasons. So definitely go out and see Sound of Freedom. Recommend it. It's important. I think you will take away a lot of messages from this film. Make sure to stay also for the end credits, which reveal a personal message from Jim Caviezel and a way you can help spread this film. So stay for the end credits and see the people who are involved and hear that special message from Jim, which I think is, if you didn't think he was involved or passionate about this project, or did it for the wrong reasons, you're wrong, because that speech he gives post credits, you will see exactly why this man was right for this role and how he feels about this film. So check it out. I'll say more than that. I think it's been said that people have spoken. And what the people want is usually right? Because it ultimately depends on the viewer and the audience, not the critics, not the people who, try to make a say or whatever. People have spoken, and that's the most important power when it comes to cinema and anything in general. It's the people that matter. So scores, acting. Like I said, Jim was great for the role. This is an, Oscar performance maybe. And, there's a lot of unknown actors. Mira Sorvino does play his wife, so she appears in several scenes. But acting, 8 out of 10, really good. Not perfect, but I thought overall the actors were well cast, and it all made sense to me with the casting. And I liked the contrast between Tim Ballard's Jim Caviezel and Bill Camp's Vampiro. Some interesting scenes, and two polar opposite personalities, but come together united over a special cause. Entertainment value. Like I said, it's not necessarily an entertaining movie because of the subject matter that's difficult to watch, but it keeps you on edge. It's intense. It's tension packed. It's a sort of movie that really makes you feel things. So in that aspect, the entertainment sort of, it's hard to grade it. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Because it keeps you there. It's important, but yeah, it's not as exciting, and there's action sequences too that really hold you on edge too. So 7 out of 10, I thought it was fair. Creativity, not necessarily creative in any way. It's pretty straightforward film. You know, they don't do any fancy CGI or anything like that. It would be unnecessary. So they don't go out of the box. 6 out of 10, 6.5 maybe. Wasn't overly creative, but didn't have to be. Plot story, like I said, it conveys the message. It's important. It delivers on what it needs to. So right here, we're giving it an 8.5 out of 10. And impression, 10 out of 10 on this film. This film makes a difference. It makes an impression on you one way or the other. You will be thinking about this. You will want to care about this matter, and it makes you care about it. So the impression is huge. 10 out of 10 for sure. And overall, the score right around 80, 79, 80% right there. So really solid movie. Definitely must see. It's definitely one of those films you should go out there and check out. So that's a high score in my view. You know, no movie's perfect, and this did have some, you know, drawbacks to itself, of course, but nothing that would stop you from going there and spending that money that is going to be served well when you purchase a ticket, and stay for the end credits to see how, and pass it along. It's that's the message. Pass along the message and a ticket so someone else could see it that they can't. So yeah, there's the review of Sound of Freedom. So check it out. In the meantime, make sure to follow me, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Helps out a lot. Just clicking that one button takes 1 second, and it makes a difference. Helps me continue doing these reviews. If you like this review, give it a thumbs up. Much appreciated. That's always important. Give those thumbs up, and comment. This is one I want to hear your comments. If you've seen it, if you plan on seeing it, what were your reactions? What were your thoughts? This movie hit you the way it hit me. Please leave your comments. This movie definitely stayed with me, and I thought about the criminal nature of this, and of what's going on in the world, and why this is widely discussed and in a really priority out there. So by the way, also right at the end, we do see scenes and the real Tim and some of the real people that are involved here. It's a cool thing to show that this guy's real. He exists and did all these things. So he feels like a superhero. He really is a real life superhero, Tim Ballard. People like that need to be acknowledged, even though I'm sure himself, he wouldn't want the praise. He would want the focus to be on these stories. But Tim Ballard is a real life superhero, and he's done a lot of good and helped a lot of kids. So definitely support the film. Yeah, follow me on social media at the Jim Alexander. That's on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and also at The Real Talker, same social media outlets. So until next time, check out Sound of Freedom, pass along the message, stay for the messages at the end. This movie hits you hard and it will stay with you. So that's the best I can say about it, which is pretty high praise if a movie makes a difference in your life and hopefully in someone else's, and spreads awareness, which is done, and people have spoken. So until next time, I'm out, and stay tuned to Real Talker. I'm Jim Alexander. See you out there again.